All right, on your table of topics, this is 29 for you. We're just going to put angle examples. I'm going to give you different kinds. We'll give you some complementary, supplementary. We'll look at the parallel lines. We'll go over a little bit of everything. And today is the 19th.
Which one is classifying angles?
That's the one we did with the 6 sections. And 28 was the foldable we glued in, so 29 is the examples. All right, so on the next empty sheet, so we got angle examples. And 219. All right, let's start off pretty basic. On your, flip back to it just a second, the sheet where you made this chart. Now, I know you did this off in this Hardison's video. I put, I didn't know if she includes it or not. On complementary angles, how I remember complementary angles, two angles that together make a right angle. I always say that if you're giving complements, you are right. So that maybe will help you remember complementary is when they make a right angle together. Okay, so if you need to add that, if that'll help you remember. Was that in the video you saw? Okay, I didn't think she put that in there, but I just wanted you to do. And then also I mentioned on adjacent angles, did she talk to you about those or neighbors? She did? Okay, good, good. And then supplementary, I just remember the S and the S, supplementary and straight line. Supplementary angles, and they form a straight line. So she did mention that, okay. Okay, good, good. All right, so keep those things in mind. So let's look at let's have this angle. And obviously I'm not measuring anything. I just threw on my lines here. So
Can I get things from you, the permission slips for the fifth grade?
there I'm gonna tell you, I have just one left, but he's bringing it tomorrow. He's been absent.
Thank you.
All right, let's say that this angle is 28 degrees, and we need to know what the X is.
I apologize for this interruption. Students, if you normally see the nurse first thing in the morning.
Okay. All right, so if we know they are making complementary, what do we know they total? 90 degrees. So if I want to know what, oh, and let's label these. Let's say this is A, B, C, and D. So let's say I'm looking for the measure of angle, and then we just put M for measure. We put the angle symbol to recognize the angle, and then A, B, C. And the letter in the middle of your label is where your vertex is. That's where your two rays come together. That's where the, like the point of the angle that we're looking at. So if we're looking for X, how can we find it?
90 minus 20.
Yeah, we can do the 90 minus 28. And I could also measure that angle as just angle B. You can use the 3 letters as long as the vertex is in the middle, or you can just call it by its vertex. Okay, so yeah, we would do.
So wouldn't that both be B?
Well, and that's why when I'm doing this, when you got complementary, I would want to use all 3 letters. Because yeah, if we said just B, we're really talking about the whole thing technically, or it could be just those little corners. So it gets confusing. So yeah, that's why I like to use all 3. So 90 minus 28 gives us what?
62.
So 62 degrees would be our measure of angle ABC. Okay. All right. What about, let's go ahead and just list it so we'll have some titles. The measure of angle CBD is what?
28?
Yeah, 28 degrees. Okay. And then if I really wanted the full thing, I could say the measure of angle ABD, and that one is what's really going to be 90 degrees. Okay, so you just have to look at how they're labeled. And that one is complementary. All right, let's look at this one. And let's put some letters on here. So let's do A, B, let's do C up here, D, and E. All right, now we could, if you have an angle like this or multiple angles, then you're going to be given some directions. So let's say that line AE is perpendicular to line DB. Remember when you first learned about lines, if you got this is the symbol for a line, it's got a line and then an arrow on each end. If it was just a line segment, what would it look like? Yeah, we'd have dots on the end. And then this is our symbol for perpendicular. I think you put that on your, you put that on your chart the other day. So that means perpendicular means that two lines intersect at a right angle. And we've got that on our chart. All right, well, let's look at the measure of angle ABE. Where is ABE? Yeah, it's the straight line. So how many degrees is ABE going to measure?
180.
Yeah, 180 degrees. Okay. What about the measure of angle DBE?
90.
90. And how do we know it's 90?
Because the other side, because it has that little like box space.
Yeah, it has that box, and then we were also told in our directions that it was perpendicular. Okay. All right, and then we know that the measure of angle ABD is what?
90.
90. Because if one side of that angle measures 90, there's got to be 90 on the other side. Okay. All right, now, would it make sense if I said that the measure of ABC, so I'm looking right here, ABC plus the measure of angle CBD equals 90? Would you agree with that?
No.
That ABC, so this angle plus this angle measures 90.
Yeah.
All right, and I've got that they're x, they're both just x, so I'm really just saying x plus x equals 90. Well, what is x plus x? 2x. So I'm saying that 2x is 90, so how do I solve that?
You divide each side by 2.
Mm-hmm. So what's x going to equal? 45. So that just tells me that each of these angles is 45 degrees. Okay. Now, we could have reasoned through that and figured that out without going through the equation, but that being able to do it with an equation is going to help us later when they aren't going to be exactly the same, the 45. Okay. All right. Now, let's say I've got a 75-degree angle And these are not, I'm not measuring, so we're just assuming I'm close. And I've got a 15-degree angle. And if your directions said, and you had some like this the other day, if it says to classify whether it's complementary, supplementary, or neither, which would this be? How would I know?
By adding them together?
By adding them together. So what is 75 plus 15? 90. So what do I know they are together? Complementary. Oops, that's it, yeah. Okay, so they would be complementary. What about actually, I think it was the other classes that had the worksheet that had some examples like this, but let's say we got 85 and we got 90, and that's not really a 90, but we'll pretend. Okay. Is that going to be complementary, supplementary, or neither? Neither. Because is it going to equal 180?
No.
No. It's going to actually equal what?
Math?
Number. What's it actually going to equal? What's 85 plus 90? 85 plus 90? 175. So, oh no, that's an 85 and a 90. But now I didn't draw it accurately at all, because is that really, that big angle going to be 175 degrees? No. But you get the idea that it doesn't equal.
What's the other thing?
85, 90?
Oh.
Yeah, and just that it would be neither. We're just doing our angle measurements. If you just look at what the two angles total together. If they total 90 together, they're complementary. If they total 180 together, they're supplementary. If they total anything else, they're just neither. Just another way to classify them. Okay. All right, and then let's put one more of those. All right, let's say I've got 128 degrees. And I've got 52 degrees. So what do I have to do to be able to classify?
You have to add it.
I have to add them. So 128 plus 52 equals what?
180.
180, so what kind are they? Supplementary. All right, now let's talk about the foldable that you made. It looked like this. Okay, so we had the two parallel lines, we had the transversal, and we talked about all the different angles that would be congruent because of this transversal cutting through. Okay, so let's just practice on finding some of those. So let's draw it like this. Draw that. And then number yours the way I'm numbering mine. Got it? All right, so let's just look at some of the angles. Whoop, not yet. All right, so angle 1 is congruent to angle 8. So look at angle 1 and angle 8. What do you notice about those two angles? Where are they in relation to the parallel lines? They're on the outside, because here's your parallel line. So in between is your interior. So they are exterior, so we know that. What else do we know about them? in relation to each
They're
other.
like on opposite.
They're on opposite sides. So they are alternate, and I'm just going to abbreviate, exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles. Okay. What about angle 1 and angle 3? Look at where they are in relation to the parallel lines. They're in the same position, but on a different line. So which angle said that? Same position, different line. Corresponding. So if I picked up this parallel line and I just set it right on top of this line, those angles would stack up. They're in the same position. So like 1 and 3 would be on top of each other. 2 and 4, 5 and 7, 6 and 8. Those are corresponding. Okay. All right. What about angle 2 is congruent to angle 7? Why?
Because they're both on the interior.
They're interior. What else are they?
Of course, alternating.
They're alternating. They are alternate interior. And alternate interior, they won't be side by side, okay? Like 2 and 6. What are 2 and 6 together? What kind of angles would they be? They'd be supplementary, okay? Or adjacent. We'd say supplementary because that's a little more specific. That's kind of like me calling Emma just a girl instead of saying she's Emma. So instead of just saying, oh, these are adjacent, they're actually supplementary. You want to get a little more specific, okay? So when they're side by side, that's what you're looking at. But these are alternate interior, so they're going to be congruent. So alternate interior. Okay. All right, what about angle 5 and angle 7? Look at where they are.
Alternate in.
No, they're not alternate. They're corresponding. Same position, different line. So they're corresponding. What about why is angle 4 congruent to angle 5? All right, so they're opposites, so what will we call them? Alternate exterior, because they're outside the parallel lines. So alternate exterior.
Why do you use and on some of the things where the silent others?
The and your the books, I don't know why they choose to do it, but the corresponding, you see the word and in between, that's your hint that it's going to be corresponding. But when we're talking about anything else, we use the congruent symbol. So yeah, it's a good question. And it'll help you narrow down choices if you pick up on little things like that. Okay. Which in the 1 and 3 are congruent, but when it's corresponding, they just always use the word and. So, all right. What about angle 1 and angle 2? I tricked you. I use the word and, but look at them. Supplementary. So, because are they going to be congruent to each other? Not necessarily. So that's why we don't use the congruent symbol there. 1 and 2, they're not going to measure the same, but they are supplementary. What about, let's do angle 2 and angle 5. That's a new one. We haven't talked about this. Angle 2 and angle 5. They're vertical. Who said vertical? Good. Why are they vertical? Yeah, they're across from each other. And when when I'm in class giving you your notes, when we talked about vertical angles, that was on that chart here. We talked about on this one that 2 and 4 were vertical, 1 and 3 were vertical. They share the vertex. That's why they're vertical. And I always think about if you cross your arms, it looks like the X. That's your vertical angle. It's like a V here on the top and a V here on the bottom. Okay, so two and oh, it doesn't have to be. I mean, it is like direction-wise, but when you're talking about vertical angles, just means they share a vertex. So they can really be any direction there. Okay.
Like they could be like 1, 2, that's all.
Which ones?
1, 2.
No, but 1 and 6, or 7 and 4, or 3 and 8. Those are all vertical. And let's do one more. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. Why?
Alternate interior?
Yes, alternate interior.
So like when we have tests, will we have to be able to like pick these out?
Yes, and how you would see it is they would give you a drawing, and then it would say, okay, angle 2 and angle 7, are they alternate exterior, alternate interior, corresponding, supplementary? So you'd have to know what those words mean just so you could pick out the right thing. Okay. But if you really think about it, you know the difference between interior and exterior, and you know alternate means opposite. So maybe the only one you have to kind of really learn is the corresponding. Okay. All right, let's try to find some missing angles. Let's draw it this way. All right, and I'm going to tell you that the measure of angle 8 is 105 degrees. I want you to see how many more angles you can find. You should be able to find them all.
Where's the 5? Oh.
So take a minute and go through your, and you can write it right on the drawing is fine. So you're filling in all the missing angles. I gave you one, so I want you to just think, okay, use what you know and find the missing angles. So the 1 through 7, basically. And you can think about, which ones are congruent. What's vertical with 8? What's supplementary with 8? How can that help you find missing numbers? All right, what do you know about angle 2 and angle 8?
The vertical angle.
They're vertical angles, so that means they're congruent, so that means they've what? That they're the same. So we know that the angle 2 is also going to be 105 degrees.
Miss Etheridge,
Yes?
send my daughter to the office, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and then what do you know about, and I'm going to make me a little note out here because it was vertical with that. That's how I knew that. All right, what about angle 1? What kind of relationship does 1 and 8 have?
Supplementary.
They're supplementary, so if I know 8's 105, how can I find 1?
You can subtract 180 from 105.
Yeah, subtract 180 from 105, and what does that give me for angle 1?
75.
75. Because it was supplementary. All right, and then what do you know about angle 1 and 7?
The vertical.
They're vertical, so if angle 1 measures 75, what's 7 got to measure?
75.
75. And would that work, because it's 7 and 8 supplementary? Yes. And do they total 180? Yes. Is 2 and 7 supplementary? Do they total 180? Yes. Okay. All right. Then how does any of that help me get down to the bottom line? Because it's the same thing. Why? Yeah, because those lines are parallel, so all those angles on top correspond to the ones on the bottom. So it's because you can take this line, pick it up, and put it right on top. So that means angle 3 measures what? 75. What's angle 6 going to measure?
105.
105. What's angle 4 measure?
105.
And what's angle 5 measure?
75.
75. Okay. All right. Now let me ask you this. What kind of angles are, why, or I should say, why is angle 4 congruent to angle 8?
Is there exterior, alternate exterior?
Alternate exterior. All right. Why is angle 8 and angle 6 the same?
Because they're corresponding.
Because they're corresponding. Okay. So if I give you one angle, you can find the rest of them. Because how many measurements, different measurements did you have? 2. So I give you one of them. You really only have one other angle to find, and then you'll know what they measure. And can you kind of tell?
What if the ones that parallel?
Oh, well, then we wouldn't do this. This only works for when you have a set of parallel lines cut by a transversal. Yeah, it's the only time. And can you kind of tell on your angles? I mean, you can tell the 75-degree angles are all the smaller angles. Even though I didn't measure it to draw it, I did try to at least make sure the 75 was going to be smaller that you could tell. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Let's make it a little bigger. Let's do,
They're just close enough.
I got that. All right, now I'm going to turn my book so I can draw this. I want a line coming out right here. Do you see if you only looked at this angle? Let me turn it so you can see it. I'm going to say that's 90 degrees. Obviously, I didn't measure it, but if you tilt your head, you can kind of see it's close. It's close. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I want, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm not making you dizzy. I'm flipping my book. Right, that one I didn't do as well. But that one I also want it to be We'll put the box. We'll pretend they're 90s. Try to get close. So draw you an extra line going out that way and an extra line coming out this way. And put your boxes. We're going to say those are 90. Obviously didn't measure them. They won't be exact. All right, now let's number. I'm going to start here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, be sure your numbers are like my numbers are.
All we have is the 90s.
Now I'm going to give you one more. All right, so A is parallel to B. Okay, so you'll be given that. And I'm going to tell you that the measure of angle 2 is 135 degrees. All right, now you find the rest.
I'm hoping I got this right. That's fine.
You do or you don't? Fine. All right, so where is it easiest to start? All right, the 90-degree angles were easy to find, or what about after that?
The 35 is like the 8, angle 8.
Angle 8? All right, how did you find angle
I
8?
subtracted 180 from 135.
So 135 from 180, and what did you get?
I got 45.
All right, so Krisha says that'll be 45 because 2 and 8 are supplementary. Do y'all agree with that? All right, how does finding angle 8 help us?
It helps find number 1.
It helps find number 1 because 1 and 8 are what?
Vertical.
Vertical. So that means they are congruent. All right, but how can I find 9?
You can subtract 135 from 90.
90 from 135?
Yeah.
And then do what? What's that tell you?
You add 1 to 45 and subtract that
Yeah.
from the 35.
You can do what she said. Why can you do what you said, Krisha?
Because when there's two numbers that add up to make 135, when you subtract the 90, then you'll get your answer.
Yeah, because 2 is vertical to 9 and 10 together. Okay? So, or yeah, like y'all were looking at, add the 90, add the 45, subtract that from 180 because 8, 9, and 10 are supplementary. So either way you go, what's number 9 going to measure?
45.
All right. So how does that help me find the bottom? What's angle 3? 45. Why is it 45?
It's a corresponding.
All right, so it's corresponding to 1. What is it to 8? Alternate. interior, okay? I'll leave there. All right, then what about angle 4? 45. All right, what about angle 7?
135.
135. All right, because 2 and 7 are what? Alternate interior. And then what's angle 6?
45.
45. Okay. All right, we good on that? Okay, so it's not bad. Once you figure out how your angles relate, you can find them. All right, now let me show you this, what else we can do with it. And you may have seen this on your iReady. I know a couple people had gotten to it. I saw it. All right, let's say that this is X. And down here I got 3X minus 120. And I want to know the value, or the measure, I could say measure, I guess, the value of X. What do we know about those two angles?
Exterior.
They're not supplementary. They are exterior. What else are they? Alternate exterior. They are alternate exterior. And what do we know about alternate exterior angles?
Still the same.
They're congruent. So they equal each other. So that tells me that 3X minus 120 equals X, that this angle equals the other angle. Okay? So that's important to know that they equal each other, not that you're adding them to equal something else, because that would be a different equation. So then we're just down to, we got to solve our equation. Variables on one side, numbers on the other. If X is all I have, don't move it, move the 3X. How can I move the 3X?
Subtract it.
I can subtract 3X. So I get negative 120 equals, what is X minus 3X?
Negative 2x.
Negative 2X. What do I do then?
You divide by 2.
Divide by negative 2. So what is X going to equal? 60. And you could plug it in here to make sure that it still worked on that side. If you plugged in 60, what is 3 times 60?
18.
180. And 180 minus 120 is 60. And this angle measures 60. So I could find it that way. Okay. All right. Questions on any of that? I'm going to stop there with you today. And then we'll pick up on this tomorrow.